Hey everyone, so I'm just going to show you some of the stages for making the lasagna today. Obviously I made the lasagna before in one of my other videos, but this one I'm doing a little bit differently. I wanted to show you some of the things I'm doing differently in this one. So for this one, what I'm going to show you first is I'm making a pesto sauce. The other one I did actually make a kind of a pesto style sauce at the top, made from avocados. This one's going to be different. So, and I'm not making the sesame sauce that I made in the other one. So yeah, this one I'm using some pine nuts. I got 2 boxes here. I know some people like to do quantities. I'm just trying to see if it's got the quantity on here. Nope, I don't see a quantity. It should have. Oh yeah, here we go. So it says it's 7.8 ounces. In case you wanted an idea of how much I'm putting in. Okay, I'm going to add some tomato. This isn't actually part of the real flavor of the tomato, but for some reason I find it just makes the sauce taste just right. Then I've got some of my wild greens that I like to add, because this is more of a wild green pesto. You don't need to use the wild greens. If you can find something growing near you, then great, use it. If you can't find something or you don't want to use it, then don't. Or you could add some greens from your local store, whatever you like to use. So yeah, this is some yellow dog or curly dog that I'm adding right now. I've got a little bit of sow thistle I'm going to put in there. And I've got some wood sorrel. Then I've got some red onion I'm going to add in. And that was about maybe it's under a quarter of red onion I'd said in there. And then this is a whole bunch of green onions I'm adding in now. Okay, and then one of the more important things, the basil. We actually bought this basil 2 days ago. So some of it's going a little bit bad, so I'm having to be careful what I put in. Okay, so I finished putting the basil in. The basil, this is a big thing of basil. It says it's 4 ounces. And for those that like quantities. Then I'm going to put some of this guinea hen weed in, which I always talk about, that I like to use to add the garlicky flavor. Now you could go ahead and just use garlic if you're happy using garlic in your food. If I wouldn't advise using this if there's any chance that you're pregnant. Otherwise, you can go ahead and use this. I got this from Purple Moss Paradise, their website. Then I'm going to add a little bit of salt into this. I've got some purple moss that we soaked earlier to add into this. And now I'm going to go blend this up. Okay, so I blended this up. You see it's got a good green color. There's another advantage of adding the extra wild greens, is it makes sure it's definitely got a good green color. I almost forgot I added a little bit of this in. African bird pepper. You could add any kind of spice you like, but that's what we've been using. I got this from Purple Moss Paradise as well, actually. If you want to give it a slight cheesy flavor, you could also add in some nutritional yeast. It's not something I'm gonna say is optimal nutrition. It's not technically classed as raw either, but it definitely gives it a good cheesy taste, and it is vegan. So if that's something you feel you want or need added to this, you could add that. But it does taste good. It's got a good taste of basil. It's got some good flavors in there. It's nice and creamy from the pine nuts. So it's not absolutely necessary. It just depends on what you want in the way of flavor and what you're happy to eat in the way of food. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and make the lasagna sheets. Well, it's obviously not lasagna sheets, but the equivalent of. I'm going to be using this squash this time. This is a calabaza squash that we love. You see it's in here. You see it? Yeah. Okay, so that's what we've got. I'm just gonna go ahead and peel these and thinly slice them. You could use the bandoline slicer, that's what I often use. Today I think I'm just gonna use a knife. Okay, so I finished chopping the squash. Here, you see? All I did was peel it and chop it into long strips that aren't too thick. Okay, so now I'm just gonna start layering everything up. I've got my, what I'll call a meat sauce here, even though it's not meat. Just like I did before in my other video. It's got the tomato sauce, the dried chopped mushrooms, and the sprouted wild rice in there. So I'm just gonna layer all this in the bottom. I actually got some smaller dishes this time because I like to let it warm slightly in the dehydrator. And the other lasagna dish I had was a bit too big to fit in there properly. I could kind of fit in there, but I couldn't shut the door properly. So I've got 2 dishes this size now, and I'm making that work. So this was 4 squash that I actually sliced up in the end. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think I need more. It should be enough. I've got some more I need to, but yeah, that's how much so far. But I'm probably going to show you this one on camera, and then I've got another dish that I'm going to make up afterwards, because we're a big family, so we're a family of 6. So yeah, we can get through a lot of food. Okay, so that's all laid up there. Now I'm going to put some of this cheese sauce on. It's actually a little bit runnier than I wanted it, but that's okay. I just added a little bit too much water. So I'm just going to put that on. It being a little bit runnier doesn't matter too much. It will just ruin the presentation when I come to serving it, because it won't hold as well, which is a shame. But it won't change taste too much. This is the thing. I mean, for me, I don't follow recipes, and at the moment I've got 4 children at home with me. 2 of them are very young, under 3, so it can be kind of chaotic trying to get this food made, and hard to sometimes focus too much on what I'm doing. And that means sometimes I might make a slight error in making the sauce a bit runnier than I wanted it, but it's no big deal really. I'm not too worried. Okay. So I'm just gonna put 1 more layer of meat sauce on here. I really should come up with a better name other than meat sauce, but it's just a familiar name that everyone understands. So yeah, just layering that on now. And then I just need to put 1 more layer of the squash on, and then another layer of the cheese sauce. Okay. Okay, so last layer of the squash. Also, which I never really have time to be fussing around too much with getting it just perfect, because again, you know, I'm trying to cook with my kids. The squash, I've noticed, if you want to get the presentation just perfect when you're getting this out afterwards, the best thing to do is layer the squash in there, so it's how you're gonna want to get it out. So you know, if you want a portion, say this kind of size, then put them in all that way and make sure the lines all line up roughly, so then when you cut it out, you're not going to cut the squash, you're just going to get the squash in between the pieces. If that, I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, and then it will come out real easy in a really nice shape. If I was trying to make this look super presentable, you know, for a client or something, then that's what I'd spend more time doing. But for this, for just making this quickly for my family, this is just the best way to do it. I'm just throwing this all in, really. sometimes they have to just, I mean, I don't, I'm able to make all our own food like this from scratch, but spending too much time over it is something that I struggle to find time to do. Okay, so I just poured the rest of, I'm calling it the cheese. Okay, sorry, that actually stopped recording because my camera got full. But yeah, this is just the lasagna right here. You see it and kind of see the layers. You can see where it's a bit runnier, it's kind of ran down the edges a little bit, the pesto sauce. But yeah, that's it. So I'm gonna go put this in the dehydrator now and let it warm up a little bit, and then when Kaylin gets home, I'm then going to serve it up. Check that dopamine.